Hello everyone. Welcome to another Unlimited Software Membership webinar for Wednesday, June 25th, 2014. How's everyone today? Can you hear me all right? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. Mike says the sound is good. Okay. Just taking one moment to update my ICC Express. Hello, Grant. Hi, Bob. Welcome. We have one little new feature on ICC Express that I want to share with you. It's very cool. Thanks to my assistant Colin and Tanya for helping me find some really good RSS feeds. And once we got that listing, I created a new system inside of ICC Express. It's available in either the blog curation and bookmarking screen or the social posting and editing screen. You'll notice that we now have a new option here in the center selector that says built-in feeds. And then if you have that selected and you go to this drop down here, you'll see a whole bunch of selections for you to choose from in different categories. For example, let's just try Entertainment Weekly. And then you've got a lot of content here to curate. So there's a whole lot of more instant content for you to curate rather than having to go out and search for feeds. Of course, that's great as well. But now you have the option to just use the feeds that we put in, and I know there's a lot of cool news that comes up in those feeds. Okay, so Doug's trying to get in, having trouble. Okay, so I just want to cover that now. Grant has made a, oh Bob, you like that, huh? the new feeds. Grant has made a request, which I think is a great request. Grant would like me to address, awesome Bob. Grant would like me to address the idea of, backing up for your WordPress blogs and stuff. So I thought I would do a little unit today about how we can think about protecting our data on our blog, which is always a good thing to do. And certainly there are a lot of systems out there that you can install, like Backup Buddy and stuff like that. Personally, I never use those myself because I know how to do it manually, and I prefer to manage it myself personally by hand. And I'm going to show you today how I do that. Does that sound like a winner? I hope so. All right, Mike. Okay. This is actually a very good lesson for you guys to sort of know what's going on here with your WordPress blogs and all that. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to assume that you have cPanel. You might not have cPanel. You might do the DigitalOcean Commander route if you've studied that stuff or had your VA use it, in which case you would use the virtual min and perhaps your own version of PHP Myadmin. But that notwithstanding, I'm going to just assume that we're on cPanel. cPanel has some very, very cool cPanel has some very cool things that you can play around with. In case you're not aware of that, I'd like to make you aware of some very excellent tools that cPanel has for you to use. The first one that I would point out is called File Manager. We're going to use that. And the other one that I want to point out is in Database Tools, Php Myadmin. So Php Myadmin is going to be your direct access to your database, your MySQL database, for your WordPress blogs. And the File Manager is going to be the direct access to your files for that blog. So in order to back up a WordPress site or protect it for future restoration, you're going to need to do two things. You're going to need to collect all the files in that directory, and the other thing you're going to need to do is collect all the data in the database for that blog. You guys with me so far? Let me get an amen on that. All right. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is click on File Manager, and I believe this will just open me to a new tab. As it does, it takes a moment for the File Manager to load. Let me know when you can see the File Manager on your screen, if you would. Okay, so you're seeing a bunch of folders. On the left-hand side, you see a folder tree. On the right-hand side, you're going to see the contents of whatever you've clicked here. Now, your websites are going to be inside the public HTML almost always. So you're going to open that up. You can see I have quite a few domains on this hosting account. And they're all used for different things. So I'm going to sort of pick one in order to show you how I might back it up. And I'm going to pick this one right here. It's a test blog that I use just to show you what it looks like as a blog. Okay, this is my famous cat care demo site. Really, I just use that for, for testing blogs. That is my actual cat that I no longer have, but she was a good one. These are just things that I've curated. So as you can see, there is, content on this blog, and all that content is contained in the MySQL database. The content is not in the files, folks. The content is in the MySQL database. The structure is also in the database, but it just depends on what files you might have. Now, in this particular blog, and I'm back to the File Manager now, you can see that there are a number of files that start with WP hyphen, and those are all WordPress files. And you're also going to see there are 3 folders that start with WP hyphen as well. WP admin, WP content, and WP includes. I don't know what this backup time thing is. It has to be something to do with host monster, which is what this is, of course. All these 400, 401 SHTML files were generated by host monster. I honestly don't really need them. Here's an error log, your icon. I don't really know why functions in there. Let's take a look at that. The site, okay, this is for Google Reader, my plugin. I was testing it, I guess, so I'm going to go ahead and just delete that one because I don't need that. I'm going to just look at the code on index.php. You see I select the file and then I can click Code Editor or Edit. And I'm not really going to edit this, but I do want to see the content just for a second. So I click Code Editor, and guess what? This, this website has been hacked. I already showed you that stuff before. So this is how you get rid of it. You just delete that. Unfortunately, I wish it weren't hacked, but it is. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Save it, close it. Probably other files on this installation already been hacked. One of the most important file in the root directory that you want to worry about is called wp-config. Okay. Now probably it's hacked. It is. So let me just get rid of the hack code. It's just this really kind of stupid little exploit that it doesn't change anything in your blog. It doesn't make your blog disabled. I believe what it does is it redirects mobile phones when they try to browse the site. So I'm going to change that, save it. I kind of wish that the one that I picked was not hacked, but it was, so at least you see some real world stuff. Yeah, Rick says it's a mobile redirect to a porn site. So now if you look at a typical WP config file, you're going to see 4 important values: the DB name, the DB user, the DB password, and the DB host. Now those are the 4 important values that WP config holds. And you know, I'm sharing this with you so you can see the DB password and all that. So anyone that wants to hack me and add more hacking to this site, you can do it. I'll probably change the password after we get done with this call. But this is the spot in WordPress, really probably the most critical file in all of WordPress is this file called wp-config.php, because it has these 4 values. These 4 values determine how it's going to connect to the content that's in the MySQL database. It's almost always the DB host is local host, so don't worry about that. But you have to know the name of the database that your WordPress is stored in, and you have to know the name of the DB user. And in this case, they're exactly the same. And then you have to have the password as well. So it's basically those 3 pieces of data, and of course the DB host. Well, like I said, normally it's on the same server that you have your install on, especially with something like HostMonster and cPanel. I'm just going to close this for now, save changes, close it. Now I'm going to go back to the cPanel. I'm going to show you the next part of this, which is we're going to scroll down to Database Tools. I'm going to click on Php Myadmin. Takes just a moment for all the authentications to occur and redirects and so forth. And it comes up with the root password or whatever for that Php Myadmin. So now you can see, and I showed you how many websites I have on that account. So you're going to see all the blogs for all those websites here are listed on the left-hand side. And as you recall from the code editor for the WP config, I'll open it again, and you scroll down and we're going to see the DB name here is, WRD58. Okay? And what you also might want to do before you do this is log into WP admin on that site so you see what's going on in the back end. Now, to make it easier to do this, you probably want to delete these, unless they're, real people, but usually all these comments are coming from spam, right? So there's a plugin called Bulk Comment Remove, and I definitely suggest you would use that if you've got a lot of spam comments. Do I have that? Let me see how long it takes to get that. Shouldn't take too long. Okay, I'm going to install that now. And I'm 100% sure every single comment on this blog is spam from some of our favorite product vendors, products that we buy, shiny objects every day. They're out there putting spam onto our blogs, and yes, that's what they do. Let me see. Okay, bulk remove comments. And I'm just going to click remove all pending comments, because by doing that, it deletes a lot of data in the database that I don't want to back up. I don't want to move that to my new site. Okay, so if we refresh the dashboard, and we no longer have all those comments hanging around, which is fine with me. We could update now or not, but I'm not going to worry about that now. So what I've done is I've identified my database, WRD58. Now I'll go to my PHP Myadmin over here, and of course all the databases are listed on the left-hand side, and I will find WRD58, which is right down here. Click on that. Just give it a moment to load up. So now you can see all of these tables have WP. Of course, that means it's a WordPress. Of course, not all blogs actually use WP in the tables. I think there's an option to use different prefixes for tables, but this one's the standard. And you could have other tables in here depending on the plugins that you have. For example, so we've got WP PVE slideshows, and you may recognize that from my Page View Exploder plugin, PVE, because plugins have the option to create their own tables in the database so that they have their own data to play with. So that's all set up. WP options is where all the unique options for your blog are saved. WP posts is where all the content is saved, and so on and so forth down the line. Now, what we want to do is we want to be able to export this entire database so that we can re-import it in case our blog gets hacked or something. When all our content gets destroyed, we'll have it backed up. So we're going to go and click on Export right here. And make sure you didn't click on a table first. Make sure you're still on the base of the actual full database. You can see localhost and then the database name. Because there's also a chance you can go the wrong route, so you're ending up to export just one table. You don't want to do that. You want to export the entire database in one file. So I'm going to just select Quick and SQL. That's all I need, and then go. That's all I need to do. And hopefully you can see down here at the bottom left, I now have the file, which this now has all the content of my entire WordPress blog. So if I open that in a text editor like my favorite Edit Plus, now you can see what this looks like. It says PHP Myadmin SQL dump, and it has the database name here. And as you go down through it, you're going to see it has all the scripts required to recreate the entire database and all the data that is saved with my blog. The entire blog is contained in that file. Okay, so we have that file. It's right here in my downloads here. Now the next thing we're going to do, we've got our data now. We've got all the data that we need. We have all our content, all our settings for our blog are in there too. We've got all that saved up. So now the only thing we need are the files that will now consume that data, or currently are consuming and interpreting that data. For that, we're going to go to the File Manager. And I'm clicking again on the top level of that. Now the File Manager has some really cool tools in it that you might not know about. Oops, there's my phone. I have to wait. Let me turn that on. So here is, we know, I just went over, we have all the files that make up our blog are in here. However, the content of the blog, the stories, the settings, the plugin settings, the theme settings, all your configurations are saved in this SQL file that we downloaded. What is not in those files are the what is not in that SQL file are the files for the website. So as I said, cPanel File Manager has some cool tools that we can use to manage this. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to select all the files and folders in that by, first I click the one at the top, then I scroll down, I press the Shift key, and then I click the one at the very bottom, and that selects all of them. Now if you notice, there's two little icons up here. One is for compressing and one is for extracting. So I'm going to go ahead and click compress. Now that I have all those files selected, I'm going to compress them into one archive. I'm going to select zip archive, and I'm going to rename it to cat care files. Not zip. Or I could name it WordPress files. I could name it whatever I want. I'm just going to name it that for now. And then I'll click compress. And it takes just a moment. And depending on how many pictures you have uploaded, how many images you have saved, it could be a fairly large file. So now the compression results, and it tells you all the files that were used. And as you can see, we do have quite a few images and plugins, data. Jetpack. I probably should have deleted like Jetpack. I never use it. If you have big plugins, just go ahead and delete them that you're not using, because they just make your zip file bigger. But it's all done. I'm going to close it. So now you can see right here, there's a new file in the directory called catcarefiles.zip, and it's 15 megabytes. So now I've downloaded my SQL data, and now I want to download my file. So I just select that file here and then click download. And now you can see another download is activated right here with the catcarefiles.zip. So ladies and gentlemen, that is all you need to do to protect yourself in the case of getting your website completely, totally hacked and destroyed. Those are the only two files that I need to completely reconstitute my entire blog. So I guess that's why you have all those WSOs and other things, Backup Buddy and stuff. This is exactly what those programs do. Nothing more, nothing less. And what they might do that I don't show you here is that they may have an FTP process to download this zip file and to then re-upload it back to your restored, restoration, your restored blog. I am doing that by hand. I'm kind of a real fan of doing things by hand, as you noticed. I cannot tell you how many blogs I've saved by doing this. A good rule of thumb is to manage the blog in your WP admin section first by, what I would do is go to plugins, and anything that I'm not using, just delete it. I'm not using that. It's just more room to be taken up in my zip file. Jetpack is really huge. I don't use it at all. Just delete it. Otherwise, I'm downloading and uploading that all day long. Same with anything else that I'm not using. Also, the themes. Themes also take up a large portion of disk space. So what you might want to do is delete all the themes that you're not currently using. It's super easy to re-download 2011 and 2013 from WordPress. So you can just delete all those before you zip up your files. Then you have a much smaller zip file to deal with. Okay, now we're done with that. So let's see what I could do to possibly reconstitute that. One moment. I also happen to be somebody that really likes to manage my own DNS, and not everybody likes to do that. Hey, Doug, glad you could get in. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new zone. With any luck, this will not be too hard. And I'm going to make, let's see, I'm just make a new host. I have to get the IP address. I know the IP address for my host master. Just put it here, and I'm going to say WP back. backup. Let's say wpbackup.aaa1.com. Now you don't have to learn this. I'm just doing that so that I can now go back to HostMonster and I can create a new website for that. So then I'm going to reconstitute this blog on the new website so you can see not only did I back it up, but I also restored it. Okay, so let's see. Where do we do this? Domain, add-on domains. So I made a new host at wpbackup.aa1.com. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and now it should resolve correctly since that DNS seems to update quickly. If it did not update quickly, it's not going to work. Let me just ping that and see if it worked. Ping wpbackup.aa.com. And good, we're already resolving, so it should work then to add this new host. And you see it's verifying the domain, and it was verified. So now I'm going to create a new directory and just assign this domain. Takes a second. Takes a couple of seconds or a minute or two actually for this because HostMonster will now create like a DNS record to receive this request for this and then route it to that directory to serve the files for requests to that domain. And it's a little bit more than just making a folder on the server, so it takes a minute or two. And we'll just wait patiently while it gets done. And perhaps you'd like me to sing a little song while we wait. I don't know. Douglas, you can see I'm doing it exactly what you see. I click the button and bada bing, it's done. Okay? Yeah, you guys can sing your own song while you wait. How about that? You seem to be doing it. Okay, so that's done. Now, if I go back to the file manager and I'm going to just refresh, if I just click on the top level here, the right-hand side should have WP Backup. Where it is, WP Backup AA1.com. Okay, so that was the folder. It just got made today, 1 minute ago. I'm going to double-click to go inside, and you see it's got all the standard WordPress. I mean, not WordPress, the standard HostMonster hosting files. There's no WordPress in there yet. I kind of already have all of this stuff in my zip file, so I'm just going to delete all of this, and I'll delete the Cgi Bin as well. So I'm just going to delete all of that because I want to prepare this site, WP Backup AA1, and now I'm going to upload my zip file. Awesome, Grant. I'm going to choose a file. My documents, downloads, care files zip, open that, and it automatically starts the upload. And that's going to take a little while because it's 15 megabytes. Now I'm going to go back to the Php Myadmin. Okay, I'm going to click now on localhost. Now I could actually use the cpanel function to create a new WordPress site and then try to move all this up there, but I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click here in Databases, and I'm going to create a new database. That's what I'm going to do. Now I don't have to do anything with that database because we already have the SQL file that's going to allow me to just import everything right into it. So I can remember, how do we make a new one? Let's see. Sometimes I have to click around a few times to remember that. If it'll, you know what? I'm going to use the. I'm not going to use the PHP Myadmin for this. I'm going to use cpanel. So you'll see a better way to do this. Okay, so we're going to go to Home and cpanel. I think possibly the Hostmaster cpanel does not really allow you to create a database in PHP Myadmin. However, it does have a function to do that in the MySQL databases. You see, here's PHP Myadmin and here's MySQL databases. So I'm clicking on MySQL databases now. That's going to open up the cpanel access to databases. Takes a second. Okay, now we're on MySQL databases and it says create new database. So I'm going to call this WP Backup. Kind of a stupid name for a database. So let me call it catcare2. So we know it's not just a backup. It's going to a new website called catcare2, and that's what we'll use. Now click Create Database. The actual database name is going to be this Computy9 catcare2, and it was made. Now we have to do a couple of more steps. We have to either assign an existing user or create a new user. So I'm going to create a new user and see if I can do a password generator. We'll just use, okay, so I'm going to copy this. We'll use this one. I'm going to copy it and use it. Now, just to make sure I don't lose it, I'm going to put it into Notepad like this. So I've got the new password here ready to go. And I'm going to create user. Oops, username cannot be longer than 7 characters. Okay, sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so let's make it catcar2. Okay, that will be the username. Even though the database name is catcare2, the user is going to be catcar2. Okay, and we have the password. So go ahead, create that. And that's done. Now there's one more step to be done. Anybody know what that is? What it is, I'm going to have to add user to database right here. So I'm going to take Computy9 catcar2 and add them to Computy9 catcare2. Okay, so I'm just going to click add, and we have to manage the privileges. Is we can add the user to the database, but we have to add the privileges to the database too. So I just select all privileges and make changes. Okay, so that's done. Now we'll go back to my file manager, and we're still uploading at 43%, so that's going to be a little while. Now, anyone know any good jokes while we're waiting? I'm just kidding. Now I'll answer. Sandy wants to know what the CGI bin folder is for. I think that's just a holdover from the olden days when CGI bin was a big part of internet websites. It used to be that you could not run any executable files on a website unless they were contained in a CGI bin folder. Common Gateway Interface Binary. Okay, so that's what that comes from. It's just sort of a residual thing that was left over from the 1990s, really. Back when they were using Perl all the time, Perl was the #1 scripting language for websites until about the year 2000, when PHP started coming. Of course, Microsoft.NET with their ASPX pages, ASP. I actually was a Perl expert. I love Perl. Perl's awesome. PHP is like a modern incarnation of Perl. It's kind of more forgiving. It's not quite as technical, but it does all the same things that Perl does. PHP stands for Personal Homepage, which is kind of tells you the flavor that they were trying to do, whereas Perl stands for Practical Extraction and Reporting Language. So you can see why that was sort of more of a technical like type language. Perl is still actually quite important to a Linux box. So, you know, it's still kind of an important part of Linux, but not so much an important part of web scripting anymore. I'm not quite sure why, but I think it's just PHP became so popular, and the open source writing for PHP, what they call the LAMP system, LAMP, which stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. LAMP. That is sort of the most popular hosting platform now, is the LAMP platform. Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So looks like we got 32% more. You guys, anybody have a question I can deal with while we're waiting for this? Another question? Otherwise, we'll just, you know, we're going to wait because I want to show you what I can do with this stuff once it's uploaded. Sorry it's taking so long. 27% left. Now, don't tell me nobody in this call has some question that I can't answer for you while we're waiting. Where do you like to back up to? Asked Grant. I like to back up into my garage, usually. No, I'm just kidding. You know what? I just save files. Hey, Sandy. I have a network drive that is a mirrored sort of in-office cloud serving system. So I save everything on that, Grant, because whenever I save my files onto that system, they are mirrored, which means there are actually two drives that copy each other. In case one of the drives fails, I can always get my files again off the still existing drive. I suggest that you do something like that too. Anything that you have that's important to you, save it on some kind of a backup system that's mirrored. Back in the old days when backup was mainly done on CDs and discs like that, you know, you're going to say anything that you really value, save it on 3 different discs. You know, make 3 copies of it as well as the original. Good question, Douglas. What happens if a hurricane destroys my office? Nice thoughts, Douglas. Thanks a lot. But yeah, you're right. I would, you know, but the thing is, a hurricane would give me time. I do live in Miami, and we deal with hurricanes every year. Knock on wood that we don't have a hurricane this year, but we always have plenty of warning. And so if I knew a hurricane was coming, I could easily unplug my cloud system here and just move it somewhere, take it with me or whatever. It's just not that huge. It's just a couple of drives, right? I don't know about the hot swap. Well, you guys should probably know about me. I'm not a hardware guru. I know nothing. I really know very little about hardware. It's not really my thing. I can build a computer, but now I generally pay people to do that. Grant wants to know if I recommend Dropbox. A lot of people really, really like Dropbox. I don't see any reason why not to use Dropbox, other than the fact that Condoleezza Rice is on the board of directors. But personally, I kind of went with Google Drive. Google is probably just as evil as anyone else, but they often have great functionality for you. You could also have your own server. You know, if you have a server that promises to back things up. For example, I have if anybody wants to get, you know, dedicated server hosting, I have a really great company that's fantastic, and I can recommend them to you. And you could just save your files on that server because, for example, that company, they back up every week. They back up, and so if anything goes down, they've got backups of everything. So there, you know, there are a lot of ways to strategize. You know, a lot of ways to strategize the backup, the off-site backups, right? Okay, Grant, do me a favor and contact me individually for that information, and I will direct you to my guy for the dedicated servers. Okay, I can't tell you how great this company is. It's just amazing. You can get your own Linux dedicated server for $30 a month. And that might not seem like a lot when you can actually go and get a DigitalOcean account for $5 a month, the way I showed you in the training that I provided. The difference, though, is that if you go with my guy with the dedicated server, they worry about the backups. They'll reboot it. They'll move you to a new server if that thing breaks or whatever. It's just a really great thing. So contact me privately in either in Facebook or customer service, and I will refer you over to my guy at that company. It might be a good one for you, Grant. That's GSA runs on Windows, doesn't it? Well, they also have dedicated Windows boxes for equivalent price, and you can use remote desktop connection to log directly onto Windows and do whatever you want on that Windows machine. The bandwidth is crazy, ridiculously good. I mean, anytime you get a server like that and you set up a program, it's the bandwidth is just through the roof. It's so good. Okay, now it looks like my file has finished. So I'm going to close this. and go back to the file manager, and you can see now I'm going to just refresh this whole thing to make sure we have this. Let me see, do I have it down here? See, it's not listed on the left, so I want to list the whole thing on the left. I think I'm just going to refresh the whole page for a second. I'm getting a couple of questions from you about the VPS, VPN, whatever. So let's take that off the live call here, and you guys can contact me individually. And I'm more than happy to give you all the information about that, okay? And let's continue with this lesson. So we go down to the WP backup AA1. Now you can see on both sides I have cat file zip in that directory. And now I'm just going to click on extract right here. And you can see all the files are going to go right into this one directory, so I'm just going to click extract. It takes a second, but it's all done now. And you'll see all the files were extracted, and now all the files and directories are in this at the root level directory. WP admin, WP content, WP includes even the CGI bin, the 400 SHTMLs, and all the WP files as well. Now, before we go further, though, what I need to do now is I need to import the data into my new database. Now, remember, I made a database called Compute9 Cat Care. Now, that is not listed here yet. So what I need to do is basically reload the host master Php Myadmin to now show the new database that I made, which is right here, catcare2, right? Everyone see that? Okay, great. So now I'm going to click on that, and now we'll see its properties. So now you notice there are no tables found in that database. It's a brand new database with absolutely nothing in it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to import, and I'm going to browse my computer and find that SQL file. As a matter of fact, I forgot where it is, so let me just show in folder, documents, downloads, Compute9 Word 58 SQL. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to open it. How big is that? 618 kilobytes. Much less than the maximum upload. You could have a problem if it's bigger than the maximum upload. So what you would do then is zip up the SQL file, because it will accept zipped files as well as regular SQL files. So now we know we're importing into the database Compute9 catcare2, and I'm just going to select go. I don't have to select any other options, and just select go. 28%, 30%. 51%, 75%, 100%. Okay, so it's done. And now you see we've got all our WP tables and data in the CatCare2 database. We've restored everything that we exported from the previous database. And you click on structure, you see all the tables, all the same amount of records and everything. And then I'm going to go back to the file manager, and in this directory, wpbackup.aa1.com, I'm going to click on wp config, and I'm going to go to the code editor. Now this still has the same values that we had before to Word 58. The thing is, you're going to kind of assume that this Word 58 has been hosed, or not that it's been hosed, but we've already backed up these files a long time ago, so we're safe. So something happened to our website, so we're restoring it. So let's just say this doesn't work anymore, and so to simulate that, I'm just going to change the data here a little bit, and then I'm going to go to that website, wpbackup.aa1.com is the website that I have created in this lesson. So as you can see, it now says error establishing a database connection. Not really what you want to see when you go to your blog. And that's because the data no longer works in WP config. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to change the database to catcare2, and I'm going to change the user to catcar2. I think that's what it was, right? And there's one more thing that I have to put in there. What is it? You remember? Before I give it away. Anyone got the answer? Okay, time's up. Got to get this password. I'm going to copy that and replace the password. And save changes. And now, assuming everything has gone correctly, when I refresh this page, I should now see that whole CatCare website online, but under a new URL. So let's go. Hope for the best. Yeah, Grant. And there we go. Okay, there you go. See, we got a complete and total restoration of the entire WordPress blog on a new website. And it's all there. And if you want me to prove to you that, I'm more than happy to prove it. Now we're back on the original one here, VVC Test 2, which you can see this is not the same website as wpbackup.aa1.com. So what I'm going to do is just do a real quick edit and sort of mess up the headline here on the original site and update. So now if I go to see this original site on VVC Test 2, you notice now we have this scratch that I just added. Right, so that's the original one. Just to show you, now if we go back to CatCare demos on the new site and I refresh this, you're going to see that the headline does not have the scratch. like in the other one, that's because we are now operating on two entirely different blogs and two entirely different databases. So whatever I do to this one will show up on this one, but will not show up on this cloned one because it's completely cloned. And that is the end of my lesson. How'd you guys like that? Yay! Thanks, Grant. Clap, clap, clap. All right, great. Glad you guys liked it. Super, super, super. Okay, guys, so that's all I have to offer you today. I think it was a pretty good lesson. And I don't understand your question, Dennis. Which one is the main principle for Google? Actually, neither one is, Dennis, because they're both tests. They're both demo sites. I only use this for testing my software on, and demoing the software for you guys. I don't use these for real rankings. Okay, I just use them to mark them up, mess them up, rebuild them, so on and so forth. Okay? I wouldn't do that to a real site just to show you, right? That's just, it's too delicate an operation. This is just, I need to test sites to show you guys how to do this, but now you know how to protect yourself fully. Remember, first thing you do, zip up all your files like this and download them. Then go to Php Myadmin, click on export, and just click go. Then you end up with these two files down here. Then you're going to create a new website or rebuild your previous website, upload those files and extract them, import your data into the new database, edit your WP config file to point to the new database, and you're good to go. Okay, so I definitely prefer doing this my way rather than using a plugin. You may prefer using the plugin. Who knows, I may write a program to do this at some point, my way, we'll see. Okay, guys, so that pretty much does it for today. Grant made a very nice comment. Said this is a great lesson. It's such a joy to learn something when you're academically ready for the material. Well, great, Grant. I'm not sure if you meant you or me, but that's a great comment. Thanks a lot. And Douglas says he likes to be in complete control as well, and I feel the same way. Because really, if you know how to do this stuff by hand, you start to recognize that a lot of those bright, shiny objects out there are just people that figured this out and figured that they could put it in a program and then sell it to you because you don't know how to do this, right? So knowledge is power, my friends. That's what I'm about. Yeah, if the plugin crashes, you'd be screwed or whatever. And Grant says he's at the stage where he can understand this, so that's great. And it's all about, bringing everyone to the point where you can understand this stuff, so that's great. Okay, guys. Well, unless there are any other pressing matters for today, I think I'm going to call it a day. I'll give you 30 seconds to put questions in the chat box until 3:07:20, and then we'll say good day if nothing comes in. Hey, Douglas, my pleasure. I'm glad that it was a new height for you, or even if something familiar, I'm glad to help shed light on it. Okay. And that's time up. And yeah, get in touch with me if you guys want me to refer you to that awesome hosting company for your dedicated server. Haha, Sandy singing a little tune as she goes into the sunset. Wonderful. Okay, guys. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great day. You know where to reach me, and if you need me, just reach out. Okay? So have a great rest of the week, and I'll talk to you soon. It's Hugh out.